Hello students, hope you are doing well. You are going through the syllabus that is prescribed for us. I hope that you are reading the notes, or you may go through the notes that you can acquire from the last year students. So all of the students are very much helpful for you. So hope you are doing well with your studies. Now, in paper number 8, the next term that is prescribed for us that we are going to see in today's video lecture, and it is the 20th century British literature, and the term is the theatre of absurd. This particular theatre of absurd, the term is going to be useful for your paper, that is drama and theatre as well. In the modern literature, as we have seen, the World War I and the World War II has cast a deep, very impenetrable influence on the deeper psychology of the human being, especially in Europe. And all that the civilization, the basic questions that was asked, are this the civilization that we are hoping for? Is this the days that we are waiting for? After the disastrous consequences of the World War II and the dehumanizing of the mankind was put at a risk, and bombs and gunshots and all these were reflected in the literature. So, all these things are going to be very much influential in this. So, the theatre of absurd that was very much in our say so called syllabus, the literature is going to reflect these socio political phenomena influence in the literature. And in this way, we have seen after the World War II, there is an emergence of the theatre of absurd. It was very much popularized with the book published by Martin Aselin in the form of the same name, the theatre of absurd, which was published in 1960. So, Martin Aselin has highlighted the very important concepts that were of course in the due course of history were raising these issues. So, we have the angry young man theatre that was popularized in the form of, as we know, by a very John Osborne, the dramatist John Osborne, who published the Look Back in Anger. He was called Angry Young Man. Angry Young Man, his anger is directed towards the mediocre high class aristocratic society, which was very much there in the Georgian period in England. So, the reaction to this absurdity, destruction and frustration that reflected in the lives of the Europeans, and all these features that we see are going to be the part of the dramas. So, emergence that we see in France after the World War II as a rebellion against the beliefs and values of traditional culture and literature. Human being was considered as isolated, cast in alien universe. As we know, Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis, Trial. So, these books brings us the basic concepts of human being. Man is visualized as a bug, insect, and his cast is cast in such a strange consequences that makes us to think that the human being is losing the grounds in the universe. Man feels alienated, isolated. The disillusionment caused by the world war, and these world wars have has deeper psychological influence. Due to the suffering and frustrations that the civilization has brought, even in we have seen that Western philosophy is no longer going to rest the world in the in the times of epidemic, in the times of war and destruction. So, for the future course of the world, definitely they were looking for some basic philosophy, and that was a very frustrating thing that this philosophy was not available in the European cultures. Man, due to this absurd and disillusioned psychology, disillusionment of a human being was fruitlessly searching for something purpose, something useful, something meaningful, but they can't find the significant such a kind of a beliefs and so called roots on which to base on. So, all that fruitless search was always been a part of this so called say dramas. Everywhere man is searching for roots, but these roots were nowhere to be found. These roots were nowhere to be located. So, Jean Paul Sartre and Eugene Ionesco, who brought these themes. The Frederick Nietzsche means I wish to say the myth of Sisyphus is a very strange myth that we see. Man tries to find a meaning, but the meaning is not there. Man finds to find the roots, but the roots are not available. If he wish to communicate, the communication is not available. No relations that he can that they can express with themselves. So we have these so-called features that we see. Albert Camus, who brought the myth of Sisyphus, this myth of Sisyphus is by Frederick Nietzsche, and Albert Camus is one of the dramatists who brought these so-called books. Albert Camus' Ambassadors is one of the landmark drama in this film, and this myth of Sisyphus by Frederick Nietzsche has brought a strange kind of a say example that he brought to us. The whole world is covered like a human skin, and the skin has disease called man. So, in such a way, Frederick Nietzsche describes the human position in the contemporary modern world. So, what are the features of theatre of absurd? So, what we feel in such dramas is lack of individualism. See, the character or the hero, the protagonist of the absurd theatre lacks individualizing capacities and qualities. He lacks heroics. He is often projected as an anti-hero. He is busy in misadventures. Is as we have seen in Waiting for Godot, nothing happens, no one comes, no one goes. It's awful. So, this type of say called absurd feeling, absurd say individualism, lack of individualism that we see in the poetry of this era. Alienation is one of the important point that we see in the literature. So, what do we have is meaninglessness. So, meaninglessness is one of the area man has lost his roots. All his actions become senseless. To find out the meaning of his work, his actions, man cannot find them out. Man tries to find something strange. Man tries to find the areas where he can relate the significance to give his meaning to the life, the love, the sense of nearness, the sense of closeness, the mutual understanding within the relations with the society and with the outer world. The man finds himself is cut off. There is no meaning, and this meaninglessness is reflected in the literature. lack of alienation. Man feels alone, lonely. Instead of a company of so many people around, he finds that the human being is alienated. His psychology is isolated from rest of the things. Alienation that we see is reflected in his day-to-day behavior. Man tries to find meaning, but meaning is not there. Man tries to find someone who can relate his emotions to, but these relations cannot be established, and these relations are often leading us to the alienation theme. So, absence of communication in Vladimir and Estragon, both characters figures in Waiting for Godot. There is both are friends, but there is absolute lack of communication. They cannot. Estragon tries to go away, but he can't go away. He wished to leave Vladimir, on which he is dependent on, but he cannot. Both of them cannot. Both of them tried to commit the suicide, but they can't commit the suicide. They try to leave themselves, but no one can be able to. They don't have anything to eat, they don't have anything to do, just to wait for Godot, and they are waiting for 3 days, whom they believe they have an appointment. But whether this Godot exists or not, no one is sure. So the wait for Godot, which is a fictional name, continues. And this is the symptoms of the absurdity of a human being that we see in the absence of communication. The plot of the absurd dramas were often episodic by nature. The characters who we don't see anything significant, any remarkable actions, but just a few episodic like incidents that takes place in the drama. If we try to find out these things, these are realistically portrayed as we see in the realistic work of art. So whatever picture that is reflected in the dramas are brought from the real life situations. This real life situations brings us closer to the dramas of the absurdism. So we have to change that perspective. If we wish to go and see the absurd theatre, we will find that we are in a dilemma, since what is going on, the certain questions that are going to be raised, the audience often feels that what is happening here, because the absolute absurdist actions that continues to run on in the drama that we see in the realism. The satire as it is depicted in the dramas, so the drama is going to be a realistic one. So realism and satire both are complementary to each other. So such is the condition of the human being in the contemporary world that we see around. So if we go through the dramas, what is happening on the stage? The audience feels these complex concerns and issues. If we go to find out the solution for our ailments and illness, to relieve our mind, otherwise we will feel more complex, confused, that what is happening there, what life questions will be solved here. So the audience will find there is nothing that is happening here. Such absurd theatre brings us. The example that we see is Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot. end game. And fiction also brings us melodies. Other dramatist is Jean Genet and Eugene Ionesco, who wrote The Bald Soprano. So, The Bald Soprano, this drama, is also one of the famous book from the French dramatist. There is Edward Albee, who wrote The Zoo Story and who is afraid of Virginia Woolf, the story of a two couple in who is afraid of Virginia Woolf. The plot is absolute say foolishness of the characters that we see in Who is Afraid of Virginia Woolf, Martha and George. See, and Honey, which is depicted as the childish heroine in the story. Then there is another dramatist, that is Harold Pinter, who wrote The Birthday Party, The Home, The Drum. These are the absurd dramas that we see in the story. So, like this, we have this so-called dramas that we see in this particular topic. Absurd theater has brought the very realistic picture of the contemporary society. Moreover, it is absolute lack of individualism and communication that we see in the story. So, with these words, we must go through this. So, in this way, we come to an end of this story. Thank you.